So here we are with episode 2 of Grendizer U. My Grendizer videos have been doing pretty well. I'm glad to see so many people excited about it. I think my favorite thing about it though, looking at my analytics, is a good chunk of my viewers are coming from Italy and Saudi Arabia, which really shows their popularity in those regions. Thank you guys for your comments too, I love reading them. In any case, let's get on to the episode. Episode 2, Legend of the Stars. This episode picks up right after the first one with the destroyed town and Grendizer holding Mazinger Z's head. Duke space thunders another UFO and has another memory flash of when Grendizer went berserk back on planet Fleed. Duke freaks out, tosses Mazinger Z's head aside, and docks with the spazer. Koji detaches the piloter from Mazinger Z's head and boards the spazer, not letting Duke get away. Afterwards, we see the Vega Star, the vegans' headquarters essentially. Blackie and Gandalf, our two main antagonists, are discussing their finding of Duke on Earth. Also, something I gotta note here is Gandalf, or male Gandalf, I guess, being voiced by Takahito Koyasu. He voiced Mula Flaga in Gundam Seed, another Fukuda work. I love Koyasu's VA work, so I'm glad to see he's here on the show. Anyway, Blackie and Gandalf are the vegans' top generals, and they've been looking for Duke since he fled Fleed. Blackie compliments Gandalf on finding him. Lady Gandalf, who resides in the bigger male Gandalf's head, which is interesting, tells Blackie to look for where Grendizer is hiding out on Earth. Kasado, a new antagonist to the series, shows up and starts talking crap on Blackie for taking orders, saying that he thought commanders gave orders and don't receive them. This upsets Blackie and he threatens to shoot Kasado for making fun of him. Kasado recommends shooting him in the head like a loon, but Gandalf tells Blackie to stand down. Kasado retaliates, biting Blackie's gun to disarm him, and says it's his turn to look for Grendizer. Cutting back to Earth, Grendizer crash lands on a remote island. Duke falls out, upset that he lost control briefly yet again, and runs off into the forest. He slips and slides down a cliffside, and just kinda chills there, lamenting his trouble with Grendizer. Koji catches up with him and thanks him for the save earlier. Duke reiterates the vegan empire wanting to seize Grendizer, and that is why they're there to attack Earth. He goes on to tell Koji that he's the one that killed everyone on planet Fleed, including Rubina. Koji tells him not to sweat it, and that it isn't his fault. He also says he wouldn't be alive if it weren't for him. Duke says that he'll destroy Grendizer again so they would leave Earth alone, but Koji says he'll pilot it instead since Mazinger Z is out of order. Duke says he shouldn't try to, but he runs off to Grendizer anyway. Koji then proclaims to Grendizer that he's its new pilot, but Grendizer rejects him and fires off a beam. Duke catches up just in time to save Koji, but it does graze his side. Back to our twink boy Kasado. He mentions him and Duke were Starker Knights together, and that he knows Duke well enough to know that Duke won't give it up to them, and decides to just invade Earth, throwing daggers at Naida, more on her later, to dictate where to attack first. Dude is pretty unhinged and pretty great to be honest. He tells her to stand up again so he doesn't miss, but yeah, what a dick. Back at the labs, Genzo and crew are discussing the casualties from the vegans' attack, numbering in the millions. They know that they're dealing with aliens with much better technology. Sayaka is worried about Koji, but the others trust that he's fine. They then get sent footage of an attack happening in Paris, and yeah, it's getting pretty messed up. Looks like Kasado decided to attack France first. We then get an update on Koji and Duke. Duke is taking care of him, and apparently people of Fleed can have the same blood types as people on Earth, remarking this coincidence. Koji wakes up and thanks Duke again for saving him. Duke then tells him about Grendizer, being a weapon that they've had for generations. It deterred Vega for a while, until vegan forces infiltrated Fleet's royal palace. They slaughtered the guards and made their way to Grendizer. Duke intercepted them, and it turns out Kasado was there too. After dealing with some Vega troops, Duke's dark flashes and goes to confront a masked Kasado. He then questions why Grendizer's defenses were disabled, to which Kasado reveals himself. He says he made an alliance with Vega, and is there to take Grendizer. Duke fends off some more soldiers before hopping into Grendizer. While taking off, he sees his slain parents on the screen. We then see Fleet citizens looking at the burning palace, with Grendizer emerging from it. At this point it's berserk, and starts destroying the place. Duke manically seeking out Kasado. Torona then shows up in the Aquaspacer and attempts to stop Duke. She asks if he's responsible for the destruction, but he responds with an anti-gravity storm. Kasado lies to Torona, saying he killed his parents, and that he's lost it. Rubina also shows up, trying to stop Duke. This snaps him out of it for a moment, but he loses control again and seemingly kills Rubina. This sends him over the edge and we see him destroy Planet Fleed. Back to Koji. He tells Duke it's Vega's fault. Despite this, Duke cannot forgive himself for allowing it to happen. Again, Duke wants to destroy Grendizer so Earth will be safe. They then get called back to Grendizer, with Duke telling Koji not to get too close, and that Starker Knights are the only ones that can command it. He then goes on to say that they undergo extensive training to do so, and they're pretty rare people. This impresses Koji. Grendizer then leads them to an archaeological site. Koji shows off his light illuminating ring, which can also turn into a bomb, I guess. This doesn't even really seem to matter because it seems bright enough in the cave regardless. Anyway, they find a carving that looks like Grendizer's face, with some inscriptions written below it. A mysterious girl then shows up and says it's the language of the gods. They ask who she is, but she just says that she's the one that asks the questions, and asks if Duke is a good or bad person. Koji says that he's definitely a good person, and helped defend Earth. She then goes on about the path being opened when two legends appear on the island. Koji asks where the path leads, but she says it's a secret and she only reveals it to good people. Despite Koji's insistence, Duke isn't so sure that he's a good person, and doesn't want to lie. They're then taken to her residence, on the Island of Wolves, a remote island. She gives Koji a cell phone so he can contact Sayaka. Duke asks why she wonders if he's a good person or not, to which she says she'll marry him if he is, which is pretty funny. Koji then learns from Sayaka that Vega is back and attacked Paris. Duke recognizes that it's Casado, and runs off. He reveals to Koji that Casado is the one that murdered his parents, and isn't sure if he can control Grendizer again. Koji encourages him, telling him that it's his destiny to be there. He then gives Duke one of those rings, telling him that if he loses control again, he'll blow him up. They go to Grendizer, and Koji just hangs out in the spacer. We then go to where Casado is, him piloting the Zeoladizer. Duke shortly appears to confront him. Duke proclaims that he won't let him get away, and the episode ends on this awesome shot. So this episode gave us a lot more backstory on what happened with Planet Fleed. Pretty much everything we need on Duke's end. Casado for now is our main antagonist, being a big catalyst for what happened on Fleed to begin with. Naida being with him is interesting, and I wonder what her role will be going forward. She and Duke were childhood friends in the original, and was brainwashed to psychologically attack Duke. With her being with Casado, I'm thinking her role will be a bit different this time around. On to Blackie, he was the main villain for the beginning of the original Grendizer. So I suspect Casado will be dealt with shortly, and we'll move on to Blackie. Duke will probably have to contend with his berserkness, which Casado most definitely had to do with. We'll see though. Casado has been a pretty great villain, and being an original character for Grendizer U, I hope he doesn't get off too soon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, I'd love to hear it. Consider subscribing to keep up on my mecha coverage, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.